Welcome to my session. Again, sorry for the delay. I will try to be in time still. Today, we want to talk about ALM, so Application Lifecycle Management for CDS using Azure DevOps pipelines. If you have any questions, just ask them. So don't wait until the end. I am happy to answer them during the session as well. Here we go. Thanks to our sponsors, first of all. Without them, it would not be possible to have an event like that. So make sure to step by the booth and go into the raffle and to have the possibility to win the prizes. So go to their booth in the raffle and then be there at 8 p.m. When we choose the winner. About me, I'm a senior consultant at CGI, Microsoft consultant. I'm coming from development background, started with .NET development, AngularJS, moved to Dynamics CE or CRM, back then CE and MDA, and Power Platform. The goal of this session will be to introduce a basic ALM process, show possibilities for quality gates within this process, and mostly start a conversation. So if you have any questions, like mentioned, just ask them. If you have questions later, I'm happy to answer them as well. So just reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter or something like that, and then we can have a session and take a look at it. When I started my journey in Dynamics, it was on the Dynamics CRM 2013, and if you believe in Microsoft, it was one of the most, or is one of the most complex implementations, like over 100 JavaScript files, 300 plugins, 70 batch jobs, and 15 site applications that request the system, and all of that for 9 organizations, so 9 times. And when we started, everything, so every deployment was handled manually. And if you, like you could imagine, this led to a lot of headache and a lot of overtime and night work when it came to deployments. So in the session today, we want to take a look at how we can get rid of those two, hopefully in your project as well. The agenda will be, first of all, I will level you up to a certain level that we are talking about the same stuff and we all know what we are talking about. Then we will take a look at the basic ALM process, storing stuff in source control, package a solution, release it. And then at the end, we will take a look at additional or adding complexity like quality gates and a quality check for pull requests. I have prepared some demos in both parts, basic ALM and adding complexity. We will see how much of those we will really have time for. I would like to start with a site from, or a sentence from Nick Dolman. He said in one of his presentations, no project is too small for ALM, and I could not agree more. So no matter how small your project is, if it's one person just, or 50 or 100, you should and could always implement an ALM process, a basic one at least. Let's begin with leveling. First of all, I want to talk a bit about customizations versus data. On the one hand, we have customizations. Those are, for example, entities, fields, business rules, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, we have data. Those could be entity records, for example, mainly. Customizations can be shipped in a solution. Data can't be shipped in a solution. So those has to be handled manually. And this can be, for example, your configuration data if you have a custom system settings entity, or any other configuration data you created, subjects, for example. Those are data and cannot be shipped in a solution. But there are exceptions to that. For example, environment variables or duplication detection routes. Those are basically just data records, but they can be added to a solution as well, like customizations, which makes it easier to deploy those, because they, as mentioned, they can be part of your ALM, or data could be part of your ALM as well, but it's more complex. Then we have unmanaged and managed. On the unmanaged side, we can add components to an unmanaged solution. We can remove components. We can delete components that were deployed with an unmanaged solution. We can export as unmanaged, export as managed, and it can be deleted without uninstalling the components. A managed solution, on the other hand, we are unable to add components to those. We are unable to remove components from those. Those cannot be exported, and they are used to protect components from changing. It is using layering. We will talk about that later. And deleting those will uninstall all components. Another thing is that if you use managed solution, which is the recommended way from Microsoft, and if you ask me, everyone should use managed, but that's a discussion for itself. With managed, you can delete stuff you don't use any longer. So let's say you have a field on an entity, you created a custom field there, you deploy it to production, the users are using it, and you don't need it any longer. Then you will delete it from your development environment, and with the next deployment to production, this will be deleted from production as well when you upgrade your solution. Environments. Usually you have development, test, and production for a normal project. You could have several more, like, for example, a performance test environment or several development environments if you have different teams working there, and so on and so forth. For us now, we will use a JIT build environment. Basically, it's not JIT does mean just in time. So the idea behind that is you should fire up or create a new environment whenever you want to deploy to test to build your managed solution. Unfortunately, that is not possible with the build tools we have at the moment. Not entirely possible. There are pitfalls there. So for now, we will just use a build environment, which is already created and is running as it should as a normal environment, and we will just use it to create our managed solutions. The idea for that, for the JIT environment usually, is to get rid of dependencies you don't want to have any longer, or you don't have any longer, but it's still there in the system. If you fire up a new system, everything is new and there is nothing else you left there. And that's the idea of a JIT environment. One thing I here managed, I forgot about this. You can either deploy managed solution as an update or an upgrade. An update will basically be like an unmanaged solution. It will just add stuff, but do nothing else. An upgrade, as mentioned, will delete stuff you have removed from your solution, from the target environment as well. To be able to use an upgrade, the version has to be higher than the version that is installed at the moment in the target environment. And since they will remove stuff, you have to apply those manually. At the moment, there are ways. So on my blog, I wrote an article how to apply it automatically, but that's not part of this presentation. Good. Any questions so far? Good. Then we'll proceed with the basic ALM process. And there I have a question. Who of you cannot recover when dev is lost? And maybe I switch back to Teams here and just take a look at so no answers yet, but usually the answer is yeah, we can't because usually it's like in dev you have an unmanaged solution, in test and production those are managed. If we delete dev, our changes or customizations are lost. And with the approach we try to accomplish here, this will be prevented. And the approach from Microsoft is to store an unzipped version of a solution in your source control. We will take a look how this is done for the unmanaged solution today. And to be honest, in the most project I was in, we would have been quite screwed if we would have deleted development until we have introduced ALM. So how does such a pipeline looks like? We have 3 different pipelines. The first one will create an export from development. The second one will build a managed solution. And the third one will release it to test. Why to do those 2 in different steps? You could create the export from development, for example, every second hour, every night, or have it on a schedule. But you don't want to build managed solutions all the time. You only want to build managed solutions when you create a new release and say, now we want to release this version to test and go further to like a UAT environment or a PT environment or production then at the end, maybe a hotfix environment. And that's why we split this into 2 different to be able to export very often, that our source control is always up to date, but we don't want to build managed solutions all the time. How do they look like, those pipelines? So the first one will export from dev. It will unpack the zip file, and it will check it into our dev branch and store it in a project in source control, the unzipped data. One thing here, if you have Canvas apps in your solution, the unzip step will not unzip those Canvas apps at the moment. Microsoft is working on that, but for those you will have the MS app files in source control. Second pipeline, it will import to our JIT or build environment. It will export as managed from there and store it as an artifact. And the third pipeline will get this artifact and deploy it to test. You could go further on and deploy it to, after deploying to test, you could deploy it to production or to any other environment in between. But for the ease of this demos, we will only deploy it to one environment. So the whole process, or all the pipelines together, are basically those 6 steps. We have export from development, check into the branch, import to JIT, export from there as managed, store an artifact, and deploy this artifact to test or the next environment you want to have it. Why we need this JIT environment as mentioned, we want to get rid of possible dependencies. And if you store your unmanaged solution in your source control, you only can pack it as unmanaged. You cannot take an unmanaged solution from source control and pack it as managed. So therefore, we have to deploy it somewhere and then export the same solution right after as managed. And then it will also, you could test merging of solutions there. If you have different development environments, you could deploy from all of them and look if it's working with each other before you deploy to test. That's another reason for the JIT build environment. Yeah, and then it will be should be a clean environment and cross dependencies and test recovering from it, because it's a clean environment. Should be a clean environment all the time. Let's take a look at the demo then. I will open my browser. Hopefully I can find the right one. Here we are. This one and this one. So here we are in my company's playground tenant, actually. I have an own environment, which will be for the demo or development environment, and we have a demo solution here. As you can see here, this one will be used as our JIT environment. We don't have the demo solution here, and neither do we have it in our target environment. No demo, tabs on, no demo here. Let's go back. And this one includes an entity, a model-driven app, and a sitemap. Then we have our source control. Here we have a repository, which, let's delete this one really quick. So, which holds our solutions, the exported solutions. Now it's empty. And we have a second one, which is our source control plugins, web resources, and so on and so forth. And in here, we also have the pipelines. So those I have created already. We have a create export from dev pipeline, build manage solution pipeline, and a release pipeline, which is deployed to test. Let's take a look at the first one. We run it, and I can explain it while it runs. So let's see. And edit, that's what I wanted. So we use the Power Platform build tools, which are generally available from Microsoft. First of all, we always have to install the tooling. That's the first step always. Then we want to publish our customizations in my development environment. We want to export my solution, and the solution name is coming from a variable. We export it as unmanaged, because this checkbox is not checked. Then we want to unpack it, and the last step is to commit it to our source control. And the second one would be to build our managed solution then. And what this does is it installs the tooling. It packs the solution from the source control. It imports the solution to our JIT environment. It publishes all customizations there, and then it exports the solution, this time as managed, and it publishes this one as a pipeline artifact. Let's see if this one is ready already. Nope. Okay, it's exporting the solution at the moment. And the last one is our release pipeline, which is quite easy here. It takes the artifact from the second pipeline, so our managed solution. And then it has 3 tasks: installing the tooling, import the solution to our target environment, and then publish all the customizations there. You could add more stages, more steps, like for example, if you want to deploy it to production after that, you could do it at the same time. You can add like requirements. We will take a look at those later. So you are free of doing stuff here. We will delete this. So yes, that was good. Releases. This is not so fast. But now we have to wait until this one is ready, because the second pipeline over here will get our stuff from repository, but we don't have anything in the repository yet. So we have to create it. Okay, let's other questions yet? No? Good. Then let's go back to the presentation for now, and we will take a look at this one later, so that we have enough time going here. So if you have this basic deployment process or ALM process, everything at the moment is manually. You don't have any quality gates. So this one obviously should be optimized. And the next part is exactly about that. So what could be added to add more complexity and more automation to it? So there are several possibilities. Some of those are, for example, quality gates. We will take a look at those in a minute. We could deploy web resources and plugins automatically. And this could be done, for example, we all know that if we deploy or develop something, we add some, mainly web resources, we have some debugs to our TypeScripts or JavaScript, for example. We test stuff, we deploy it several times maybe. But if we want to create an export, which should be moved to test, we really want to have those files and those versions we have in source control. And they might be minified, for example, the TypeScripts. They might be uglified to have the correct versions in production later. So to achieve that, we could run those, or we could deploy those whenever our build is running, to be sure to have the correct versions in our development, to be sure to export the correct versions also, or as well. So this could be one possibility of complexities. We could automate our deployment. For example, whenever we check in something, we want to trigger our first pipeline, or whenever our second pipeline is ready, we want to create a release. And this one we will take a look at, for example. Could add a quality check for our pull requests. We should always protect our main branch and should require to create pull requests. And then we should also have, whenever we check in something, we should run a pipeline that runs all the tests, like unit tests. And only if all of those are green, we want to be able to merge our pull request. This could be one. Creating environments on the fly could be one, but there are some pitfalls. For example, you can't install a second language or a third language. You can't install or opt into the early access whenever a wave is coming. So there are some functionalities missing there. But you have the possibility to create environments and delete those again after your pipeline is ready. We could move configurations, like we talked about earlier. System configurations, your custom entities you use as configurations for different applications, for example. We usually, or we have one customer, they have a portal from us, and they have translations for the portal and other stuff inside of Dynamics. Those should be moved from dev to test to prod, that we don't miss any of those. This can be automated within a pipeline as well. You could even create your early bound in a pipeline. I haven't seen a use case, but it is possible thing to do. Let's talk a bit about quality gates. For example, you could have a solution checker. In our example, we will take a look at in a minute. We will export from development. We will run against the solution checker, and only if this one is okay and green and everything is fine, then we want to check it into our source control. Otherwise, we don't, because we don't want to have a broken version in our source control. You could run unit tests there as well. So you could not only when you merge your, or before you merge your pull request, you could run unit tests. You could also run it whenever you create an export, or before you deploy your web resources or your plugins, for example. You could run UI tests, like with Easy Repro, for example. But those are very long running, actually. So here, depending on how many of those you have, I would recommend to run those like nightly, but not within your release process, because they will slow it down a lot. So, could run integration tests or any other test you have, which could be automated. You can run it within the pipelines. Just to remember, so this is our pipeline we have looked at, and now we want to add some quality gates to those. So you could, for example, we could or we will run the solution checker here. We could run it again after this one, for example, or add any other of those quality gates. Another thing we will take a look at is deploying web resources automatically. We will see how far we come with this one. Yes, so let's take a look at this. So in the meanwhile, our create export from dev is ready. So we will run the second pipeline, which creates the managed solutions. So this one, and until this one is ready, we will change our create export from dev. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to show you is if you go to our repository now, you can see this is our demo solution, which is unpacked and now stored in our source control. And you have like the app modules, like the app we saw, and sitemap and entities. So everything you have in your solution is now stored in source control. Let's edit this one and add solution checker here. To do so, we go to the Power Apps, Power Platform, sorry. They changed names. Power Platform build tools and search for the Power Platform checker, which is the solution checker. We move it to the right place. So first of all, we want to export the solution. Then we want to throw the solution against this checker. And if this one is okay, then we want to unpack it and commit it to the source control. Here, one information for all the steps like exporting or publishing and so on and so forth. The service connection could either be a general one, like only username and password, or it could be app registration. For the solution checker, you need an app registration, otherwise it's not working. So I created this one already, and I have a blog post on how to create those. So if you wonder, just go there and I will explain it there. The solution or the local file we want to analyze is the output of the export solution, like this. Then we have to choose a root set. It's solution checker, because that's what we want to use here. And then you can specify a threshold, for example. For example, you could say it's okay to have up to 5 warnings or up to 5 errors, but on a certain level, medium, low, or whatever. But if it's the 5th one or the 6th one, I don't want to proceed. I want to break my my pipeline. So you could configure this one, for example, medium, threshold 5 is okay. Everything above that, I don't want to proceed. We leave it like it is for now. And yeah, that's basically it for adding a solution checker. If you have this one, that's the major part actually. We can save and queue it, or we wait until this one is. Yeah, so this one has now installed the tooling. It packed the solution from source control, and it imported the solution to our demo zip to our JIT environment. It will publish customizations there at the moment, or that's done. It will export the solution now and publish this one as add effects. So let's go to this one. So this one is our JIT environment. If I reload, it should appear a demo solution here as unmanaged. Here it is as unmanaged, and it includes the same stuff we have in this demo solution. So those two are the same. The ordering is not exactly the same, but we have an entity, model-driven app, and a sitemap. Same here, sitemap, model-driven app, and entity. But it's still not here in this environment because we have not run our release pipeline yet. So, but that's a thing we can do now. Like you can see here, it produced one artifact, which is in the drop, and it's a demo managed zip file. So let's go to releases and then create a new release. Yeah, that's so that the normal configuration is fine here. Create. Now we have created a release here, which should already deploying, hopefully. Yes, it's queued, waiting for Azure pipeline. So it takes the last build, which was from today, or the last one here, and now it downloads the artifacts, and yes, and then it installs the tooling, imports the solution, and publishes customizations. So without really touching one of those environments, I was able to deploy from development to test. And we have added one quality gate, which is a solution checker already. Now we want to add some automation to it, probably. So what we want to do is we want to save this one. Save. What we want to do, that if the second pipeline, which builds the managed solution, is ready, we want to create a release immediately. So let's go to our release pipeline, edit this one, and then we say continuous deploy trigger, which will now create a release every time a new build is available. And since this one is building on our second pipeline, whenever the second pipeline is built or has a new build which was succeeded, it will create a new release. Let's save it and try to run it as well. Oh yeah, one more thing. We could add, for example, which is important for production, because to production you don't want to deploy directly. You want to have like an approval process maybe. So you could either do it as a manual only, or you say we have a pre-deployment approval. And here you could say, I will just add me. but you could say some other team has to approve if you have some, a different team that handles all the deployments to productions, for example. And then they have to go in and approve before the deployment starts. You could also say that not the same user is allowed to do it, and so on and so forth. So we will leave it like that. Importing, nice. And we will run the second pipeline once more. Run, which is now queued, so it waits until the release pipeline is ready. Good. See, yeah, let's. We have related the pipeline. We could, one thing we could schedule, for example, our create export stuff that it runs every night. We want to, when we are ready after day, we want to create an export. So we can go to the triggers and oh, I have created a schedule already. Nice. So this one is running Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock in the night at the current time zone, Berlin, Stockholm, which is not UTC+1. That's weird. And it also runs over lunch, so at 11 on work days. Same thing. So usually you come here and those are not there. Make it like this. So you just click add. You choose which days it should run on, which time it is, minutes, hours and minutes, which time zone, and that's basically it. You could define on which branches it should run on, but that's basically it. Good. Let's see if the. So this one has now imported a solution to our target environment and is publishing all the customizations. So let's see here. Yeah. So the demo has appeared here, and it's a managed solution, which includes the same stuff. But as managed, and now we will publish all customizations there at the moment. Unfortunately, we will not have time to take a look at the automatic deployment of web resources, but I have a blog post about this as well. So, and let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to have, as mentioned. One thing we might have time for is the pipeline that runs when you check in. Let's take a look at this one. Stay safe. So we create a new pipeline. We use the classic UI for now. We don't use YAML just because it's easier to follow, I think. This one is nice. No, this was incorrect. Sorry. Leave. New pipeline. Classic. And we want to have it as our source control. Here it is. Continue, empty. And here we want to add some NuGet stuff. We would like to install the tooling, NuGet tooling. We want to restore our NuGet. Then we have Visual Studio build. So we want to build our test project, or in this case plugins, and then the Visual Studio test. You could also use this one to be sure that the test platform is installed. And here we just write plugins because we only want to run the plugins for the demo only. So we save it, and then we go to our branches. Let's see, now I have to settings. demo source. Policies. Here we go. Master branch policy. And we have to add the build validation and demo CI. Automatic required, that's fine. So whenever we do a check-in now, then this one runs, and it has to be green before we can merge it to our to our main branch one. Return changes, yes. Good. So this one is ready now, and this one has started, and now we should have a new release, hopefully. Yes. Here it is, release 5, and it's pending an approval. Pending approval. So if I approve this now, so this one was created because our run was finished, the last one, and now it has an approval because we have added an approval. If I approve it here, it will run the pipeline. Let's do the last thing for now. I have my plugins here, demo plugin, and we just add some stuff here. We go to branches, create a new branch, demo. Hopefully it's not there already. We don't want to have this one. Commit stage, sync, and push. What it does now, it creates a branch, demo branch. It will push our stuff there. It should trigger our the pipeline we just created, and the merge the pull request should only be possible if this one is green. So let's take a look. All of them. No runs yet. Oh yeah, I have to create a pull request. Sure. Let's see. Wrong repository. Pull requests. Create pull request. Adding comments. And create. So now it says here the pipeline was triggered. It's built. The build is queued. We need at least one reviewer. I will approve that. Normally, you would say the one that creates the pull request should not be able to approve it. But since I'm the only one in this tenant, otherwise, if I do that, I cannot do anything any longer. So now it's running. And as you can see here, I cannot complete it directly because I'm missing one requirement, which is our pipeline, which has to be run and successfully run. And this one is running at the moment. Yeah, we will let it run and come back to it later. So the session objectives, just to remember it, it was a basic ALM process. Store the stuff in source control, pack the solution and release it. We have added some complexity, quality gates, deploy plugin registration, plugins and web resources. We had not time because of my technical problems in the beginning. Sorry for that. And if you remember those two pictures, so with implementing a basic ALM process or automate at least stuff, we could get rid of those two. Actually, before we had some process, we deployed 7 hours, something like that. And after that, we were down to 2 hours. So it was fine to do it after 5 o'clock and still be at home for dinner, which was not possible before we had some automation there. So thank you. Here are my contact details. You can reach me at Twitter, LinkedIn, via mail, on my blog and YouTube channel. So feel free to take a look at those, contact me whenever you have a question.